Well, with a project as vast as Sibos, the first thing you have to do is actually break it up into component parts and lay it out in a logical order. So, for example, you start with the branding and the signage, because that's an outer shell and a skin, and it acts as a guide to the world that is Sibos. And then move on to something like registration, because that's the first physical touch point that the visitor encounters. And then moving on into the exhibition hall, because all of the feature areas within the hall are like the dots that join up the lines that make the visitor journey. Having broken up the project into its component parts, the next thing we really need is clear briefs for all of them. And it's really important for a design studio to have boundaries, to have parameters to work within. If you are given a completely free rein, anything can happen. And actually what we relish most is knowing what the boundaries are and then being able to interpret them as creatively as possible and push them. And we were really fortunate with Swift and Sibos, because both have incredibly comprehensive CI guidelines, so it gives a good backstory. And for 2014, our job was to interpret them and deliver them in a completely fresh way, so that it felt totally different to what had come before. So we are the new boys this year, and the pressure was on to prove ourselves. What we set out to do was to create something that was really simple and really logical for the visitor. We had a three-tiered approach that worked within sort of the first being you have arrived at Sibos, the second being navigating within the world that is Sibos, and lastly arrival at your particular destination within Sibos. And so we used a very simple visual logic to help guide the visitor around that. And then our priority really was to keep it as simple as possible. We were told that previously signage can be a little bit confusing, and it's very easy to give too much information. And so you have to get the balance just right between guiding the visitor, making sure they never ever get lost, but not overloading them with information. And then you move into the exhibition hall, and really that's the feature areas. So we're talking about the Connect lounges, the Futures and Exchange lounges. And it was really important to us that we were able to bring the story to life and be able to sort of touch the visitors and touch on the hot topics for 2014. And all of that is fundamental in the way that we create architecture, our use of colour, all of our graphic design, and even down to the tiniest details, like our choice of accessories and props within all of these areas. It's all ties into the story, all of the hot topics. It's all there to provoke thought and help facilitate the discussions at Sibos. If you could take a look, we designed the Standards Forum stand, and apart from the purely functional aspects of that, the story is all about standardisation, and what better metaphor to tell that story than worldwide shipping containers. It's sort of like the most universally recognisable symbol of that, and they are commonly used for architectural purposes, make great living spaces, so they were perfect for meeting spaces and hospitality. And so we got the perfect balance there of form and function and the story. We also designed the Swift stand, which is the sort of largest piece of architecture that we created here at Sibos. And that was quite a challenge, because it needed to be a powerful design, but never overpowering, never dominating or stealing attention from the exhibitor stands here. The Swift stand is here to serve the community, and It's made up of a number of different zones, which at the heart of which is a big wishing well area. It's fringed with a fantastic hospitality space, and is made up of a number of different functional meeting rooms, all of which have their own personalities, their own stories, but all working in harmony with each other and sort of representing the community in which it serves, really.